In the end, personality is more important than looks. The only thing that matters is what's inside. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. I don't even know how many times I've heard these types of feel-good messages about how attractiveness really doesn't matter in the long run. But every time I hear these kinds of things, there's this itch at the back of my head that I must scratch that says beauty does matter in the end. And here I am finally scratching that itch in this here video. So, does beauty really matter? Well, honestly, as one of the Chad Alpha core members of the Attractiveness Society, I can say that we all have this answer within ourselves already. We're already all aware of it. We don't have to look too far. We all have this bias for beautiful people and beautiful objects to an extent. If I showed you this picture of an objectively attractive dude and another of this less objectively attractive dude, you would automatically stare longer at the more attractive dude simply because our eyes are drawn to that sort of thing, you know? The guy you just stared at, which you might already be familiar with, is named Jeremy Meeks, who went from a felon convicted with federal charges of firearm possession and grand theft to an extensive modeling career, including the perk of dating a billionaire's daughter. Kind of a big leap in career, considering it's only because he looked good and he happened to have his mugshot published. Basically, because he committed grand theft and had his mugshot published, it led him to a greater career. So if you look good, do robbery, I guess? So yes, short conclusion, looks do matter. But why are our ooga booga monkey brains so attracted to pretty people? How far does this unfair beauty bias extend in society? And more importantly, why should this matter to you or me, who can't do much about the appearance we were born with? My boy, hop in, because this is going to be a strange and yes, beautiful ride. I have a love-hate relationship with beautiful things. I love the beauty of a well-made, well-thought-out object, and I love the thought of owning it, imagining its feel in my hands. And then I get a hold of the object, and the beauty I imagined lost its perfect, ideal image because I attained it. To start off, I feel like we are more attractive to the idea of beauty than its more realistic, grosser counterpart. Try thinking of the facial features of a person who has perfect, ideal beauty. More often than not, when we have this image in our heads, we build it from what we've seen in real life, from either celebrities or attractive people we see on social media, or from the other side, what media tells us is beautiful. What a Chad. Ooh, mama. We are shown this heavily edited image of beauty that we should aspire to and compare ourselves to, when in reality, most people do not look like that. This makes our view of people in real life disproportionate, and the more media beauty we expose ourselves to, the more our idea of average gets distorted. All this to say that attractiveness is based on the culture we are surrounded by. Yes, if we were to look at East Asian countries, for example, men who have very pale skin, big eyes, and have clean-shaven faces are considered very attractive, and height finds itself a less important factor than in North America, for example. And yes, I'm probably saying these things because it helps me cope with the fact that I'm not popular with women here. Oh my God! Psych! We often associate these facial features with attractiveness because it represents a form of success within that respective society. Taking from the last example, pale skin is attractive in Asian countries because successful people can afford the luxury of taking care of themselves lounging inside instead of working outside doing poor people labor. A clean-shaven face follows the same example, where you can afford to take care of your face and maintain the natural goo gaga baby face look that Asians have without having to let nature damage it and make it rugged and manly. Jokes aside, even with all the cultural standards, beauty is not something entirely subjective. These Asian Chad gods would probably still be considered attractive here too. And with today's globalization, Cultural beauty standards are spreading from one country to another, sometimes even a bit too much to the point where it leads to fetishization. We are at a point in society where science can objectively determine if you're attractive or not, using universal factors that makes a face attractive. We have two main factors that are timeless and present in every society that ever existed. To start off, symmetry is always a pleasant feature to have in any type of face. It always looks good. But why? Like all vertebrates, humans have bilateral symmetry. For most of our body, the left side is a mirror image of our right side. Or at least, in an ideal world, it should be. The smallest distortion in our gene activity and cellular activity leads to small deformations in the mirror image of our face. In short, the larger the difference in symmetry, the more it indicates to us that there is a potential handicap in the genes, reducing the chance of success in the offspring. Symmetry represents good genes and good physical health, increasing their chances of success in a caveman world where you would probably bonk another dude to death just to steal his pile of shiny rocks. The second timeless factor of beauty is the averageness of a face. Averageness in this context is used to describe the mathematical term where if you were to compound multiple faces on top, one over the other, the average face that results of that would be considered most attractive, simply because it least deviates from the norm. I feel like an easy way to explain this is that it is much easier for us to remember an ugly face than it is an attractive one. Faces deemed unattractive usually have outstanding features that stand out more, and because of that, we remember those outstanding features more easily. Once again, it comes down to mate selection, good physical genes, etc., where we seek the mate with the smallest number of mutated features, the one who will give the healthiest offspring possible. Makes us realize how monkey we actually are. Maybe we should all just go back to the jungle. But unfortunately,
in me you see a man alone, drinking up Sundays and spending them alone.
Okay, but seriously, why do we treat attractive people better? Is it because they're simply pleasant to look at, so we feel like we owe them something? Like paying the entrance fee to a museum to see beautiful art pieces. It's like it's implanted in our brains from birth, and that is not as far-fetched as it sounds. In a study from 2004, they found out that babies look at attractive people for much longer than unattractive people. Yes, even babies have this bias, which lets us know that attractiveness is less something in the eye of the beholder and more something that we're innately born with. In another study from 2010, they found out that some of the people expected to be the most rational in their profession, judges, also are affected by this attractiveness bias. On average, unattractive defendants tend to be hit with longer and harsher sentences, around 22 months on average. Holy crap, that's a lot of punishment just for being ugly. Not cool at all. Even more attractive people tend to make 20% more money, are more likely to get promoted at work, and are more likely to get employed after an interview, yada yada yada, you know the drill. There are obvious social and economical advantages at play here for more attractive people. In psychology, this is known as the halo effect. The halo effect boils down to this weird, distorted idea that we have in our heads that beauty equals goodness. We are all more likely to assume that attractive people are more successful, smarter, happier, kinder, healthier, more honest, more confident, etc. Basically, we associate positive traits with attractive people. This assumption makes it that beautiful people are generally treated better even when there's no rational reason to do so. A study by the Personality and Social Psychology Bulletin revealed that we might equate beauty to goodness because of our desire to bond with attractive people. In short, what is beautiful is good because what is beautiful is desired. Our desire for a relationship with them might create within us unconsciously a beautiful image of their soul as well. Leo Tolstoy said it best. It's amazing how complete is the delusion that beauty is goodness. The way we treat attractive boys and gals, often makes it become a self-fulfilling prophecy for them. If everyone is treating you kindly, giving you more opportunities, wanting to bond actively with you, then it's a no-brainer that you will become a more confident, kinder, and healthier person as a result. These qualities are usually built from experience and effort, but some people don't need to build it since they're already born in it. Although, to be honest, it can also go too far to the point where they become prideful, arrogant people, something we also see often in good-looking people, unfortunately. The way we treat attractive people and expect them to be makes it that they try to fit within our expectations, taking care of their bodies, their faces, the way they dress, the way they act in public, although it doesn't necessarily correlate with the way they act in private, like we often see with celebrities. Unfortunately, it is evident that we all treat attractive people better, even if we don't want to believe it. I'm not gonna listen. It's a lie. We all treat attractive people better, okay? And it's simply because our monkey brains are wired to do so. And what hurts the most for me to admit is that attractiveness does have a general correlation with your own well-being, as the study from 2016 concluded. I think it is pretty self-evident that if a person gets treated better, they become more confident in themselves and their abilities, even if they haven't done anything to deserve it. And confidence can bring you a long way in life. It makes you work hard to attain what you believe is within your limits. After all, we are made up of the stories we tell ourselves about the self, and those stories are the hidden scripts that run throughout our life, dictating the actions we take. And let's not even get started on height, since many studies have proven that if you're tall, it comes down to having the same advantages. You're seen as smarter, healthier, more confident, and thus have access to the same privileges as attractive people. If you're both attractive and tall, well, fuck, I think we're all doomed. So what does this mean for us? For me, for you, for society? Is this bias something that we can change? And should we even change it in the first place? To be honest, I feel like this bias we have towards attractive people shouldn't be something that we try to change in the first place. Assuming positive intentions and treating a person as so can only make society a happier place in my eyes. Where we go wrong, though, is that we don't apply this mentality to every interaction we have with people. I must admit, we can't help it, like I just described like 2 chapters ago. But I'd like for people to consider treating everyone as a human being before everyone else. Yes, we may be monkeys, but we still have a rationality to keep us in check, right? Right? We have a much better sense of belonging when we treat others positively and assume the best in them. We cannot blame attractive people for taking advantage of something they were simply born with. It's more so that less attractive people have limitations that pretty people don't have, and they shouldn't have those limitations. Viktor E. Frankl, a famous author and psychotherapist who survived the concentration camps of World War II, once wrote that no man should judge unless he asks himself in absolute honesty whether in a similar situation he might not have done the same. And if you were attractive, you would most likely do the same. Not that I'm saying you're not attractive, of course you are. But Shanto, I can't change the looks I was born with. I'm doomed to failure because of my genetics, and I feel like I'll never be happy since I wasn't giving something that wasn't in my control to start off with. Shut up. You and your goddamn genetic determinism. I swear you continue like this and you'll wake up tomorrow with not balls, but with one singular ball. Look, there's some truth shown in there. I have provided the proof earlier. We are born with this bias to attractiveness. However, in the end, it comes down to the old nature versus nurture debate. And it is a combination of both. We all start off with a different set of cards. We all know that. Life is unfair, like our parents have repeated to us countless times when we compared ourselves to our friends and asked for like, oh, can I have that DS because my friend has it and I want it, please, 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 please. Even with the best possible set of cards though, nothing from your genes guarantees your happiness. It might make it easier, but it doesn't guarantee it. It is how you refine and use those cards that determines the way you think about your own life. And even without that, what does believing in determinism bring you? That your life is fucked and that you have to keep spending the rest of it inhaling copium? I find it weird that people choose to believe in something that does not bring them happiness and in fact only makes them further dig their hole. It is most likely an unconscious method they use to rationalize their lack of willingness to work on themselves. Not that I don't understand that feeling of wanting to rationalize, feeling out of control, and wanting to blame the world for who you chose to become. But it is fate, not fairness, that we meet, and we should not expect justice for how nature works. We can work within our own limits, and those are often the key to becoming simply a better human being. A true sense of self-worth, which is another term used to explain a profound confidence in our own existence, is not simply something that is given to someone. It is something built from the ground up by investing in becoming the best versions of ourselves we possibly can become. It is something built from effort and intention into the self, and no one can take that away from a person. When we see positive changes in ourselves because of decisions we decided to undertake, it just creates a sense of worth no compliment would ever compare to. And yes, some people have better materials to build this tower of confidence with. Some people literally have to build with mud, but we still all must build that tower ourselves. It all depends on the choices we make. Confidence is never something that is given, lest we try to compare it to arrogance. In the end, attractiveness does give you lots of advantages and makes your life much easier to live, but it does not guarantee happiness, once again. In fact, it can even feel shallow to be loved not for who you are, but for how you look. I feel that people in their teens and their 20s put much too important an emphasis on looks in attaining a relationship and attaining a better life. But what humans actually need is a profound and authentic connection with another whole human being. Although, of course, I'm not saying that attractiveness should be completely put on the side. Attractiveness is also often a side effect of taking care of yourself and having a healthy mind and respect for yourself. When we start internalizing these messages, this way of thinking, we can start to focus on becoming the best that we can be at what we are. Okay, this is a long video, but bear with me, it's almost done. To me, life isn't what you're born as. It is about deciding what you want to become. I feel that it is much healthier for us to appreciate life for what it is in front of us instead of what it could have been, fantasizing in our heads about being Chad when we could just actually become Chad by internalizing the same way of thinking. When we start living with reality, we can start rolling up our sleeves and start working on what actually matters to us. And it's probably not a lot of things. With that, we can attain self-actualization, the peak of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. That means business. And then you can probably become the Sigma Chad that you've always dreamed of being. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.